Hello, welcome back to my shop. Today we have something completely different. This is a piece of equipment that we use in the radio station that's called a Comrex Access. This is used for electronic news gathering or for doing remotes. Everything from some guy's bar to a baseball game. They're used all over the place. This is half of it. There's another part that goes in the rack that this calls into, and the nice thing about them is that they use a codec to squish the voice down so that it'll go over the Wi-Fi or over network connection or even a telephone line for that matter, so that it sounds really good on the other end. This particular one has this sidecar on it here that gives you the ability to have 5 microphones and 5 headphones that you can drive either mic level or plus 10 line level, so you can plug the output of a tape recorder into here if you want to and just put it on line level and use that. This is the power switch for the headphones. You can turn that on and off. And this part here is a separate part that's actually quite expensive. Everything about this thing is quite expensive, to tell you the truth. Just this part here is about $3 grand. The other side of it that goes in the rack is about $3,000 too. This is a newer model. It's almost identical to the old one, except this one has a USB port stuck out the top of it here. This part comes off. It screws down with this thing, and you can just pull this off of here, and it all connects up through this big old connector here into there. This usually has a piece of rubber folded over the top, and on the bottom normally there is a thing that you can stick your hand in that comes over your hand, so you can hold it like this and just walk around with it with your microphone singly plugged into here. And it also has a stereo line in so that you can add something into it. It has line out so that you can take the output of this into some other device if you need to. Headphone out, and mobile in out. That's new to me. I'm not sure what that does. That's new on this one. This is your local and return. Local is the volume of the person talking on the microphone locally. You can turn them up and down. And these are cool. They're little push buttons. You can push them up, turn them, push them back down, and they're harder to goof around with. And this is return. This also listens back. If you're out, the station is broadcasting back to you through the same line or through the same network over the internet, and you can hear that. That way you can take cues and things. Well, you can take this level and turn it up so that you can hear well enough, and you want to be able to hear you also in your headphones, and that's what that's for. This is the mono in. This is the line in. Wait a minute. Yeah, this is the line in setting for your level. It's still stereo, but it's stereo single anyway. But I don't know what that. I'm going to have to look that one up. On the side here, we got a power cable, which is big old one of these things that looks like a cable for a TV S-video. This is a serial connector to go out to certain serial devices. I've never even seen one. And these are contact closures. Basically what these do is you can plug this in and have this thing setting at a spot, and you can send data to it, and it will close contacts to, like, turn on a recorder or a playback device of some sort, or to switch the inputs on a satellite receiver, so you can control the output, the outboard devices from a remote location. That's kind of neat. This is a connector for the network, if you're going to wired network in it. USB connector down here for several things. Normally you would use this to stick in like a, I don't know, a stick that's got music on it or whatever. The other side has nothing. This is your top. This is a touch screen. It's a resistive touch screen, not a capacitive touch screen, so you use this little guy. And this is the battery. Battery just clicks in here. And this particular one, yeah, this is a Lenmar. This is a, I think this one's a lithium, 6,000 milliamp hour. Yeah, 43.2 watt hours. They last a fair length of time, but yeah, you always want the power supply to go with it. This is not the original. And it just slides in here. There's a couple of little connectors down here. I don't know if you can see them, but there's connectors down here that match up with these two little things here. So you push it in and slide it sideways, and that's about all that holds it in. I always thought that they should have a clamp that goes over here and mashes down so that it'll stay in, because if you drop it, this thing will fall right out. And I'm not real hot up on that, but that's the way it works. This is a this is what they use. This is a all-in-one network dongle, Wi-Fi dongle with an antenna on it. What you get when you buy one of these is one of these little guys. It's the same thing, but it doesn't have the nice big fat antenna. They're both Edimax. I don't see a lot of difference between the two of them, and I think for this application this one's better, and I'll show you why in a minute. The problem that we came up with this was that he said that one of the USB ports didn't work. So we'll get into that in a minute. All right, to turn it on, you mash that button there for a little while, and it will come on slowly. They run under a version of Linux. I haven't been able to figure out which one exactly yet, but they run under embedded Linux, and everything in it is developed along the lines of what you want to do with it. It's not like a full Linux port. It's just an embedded Linux that's made to do what these things do. And it's still booting. There we go. Alright, so basically what you've got here is all of your configurations and your connections and that kind of stuff. And right now it wouldn't connect to anything because we don't have anything here. We can select networks and go to manage networks. Excuse me. And you'll notice nothing is there. Tell you what, let's plug in an Ethernet port here. And we'll see here in a minute, if you can even see it, the Ethernet port is now lit. It is enabled. And my current address is 192.168.1.211. Settings, it's on, I believe, yes, it's enabled, Ethernet port, and it is DHCP, of course. And this particular, we don't need a password to get onto this thing. So we are now connected through the Ethernet port, just as simple as that. And we can prove that we're connected. This thing actually has a Google web browser built into it. And it's okay if you're out there in the field and you have to Google somebody or something to find out a little information about them. Hey, why not? You know, hey, who's this guy I'm going to go interview? Well, oh, that's who he is. Okay, that's we'll do that. But most of the time it's used for remotes. Now, there are several different remotes listed in here from the radio station that this came from, and a Comrex. This is a test thing that sometimes is there, sometimes is not. Let's see. Is it? It's busy. Okay, so it sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But that's, you know, that's them. Let's try the Music Lab. It's busy too. All right. So anyway, but normally what you would do is you'd hit this right here, and you would connect to your studio. It would be online, and then down here in this section, you would have a bunch of audio in and out. Let's see, if remotes, add new remote. I don't remember what all the stuff is right now, but basically that's how you do it. And you can see we're now connected. We have channel stats here. This is when you're connected to a device. This is going to show you your connection and your jitter and how fast your receive is going and how fast your transmit is going. So it'll do 5.6 kilobits. Well, that's what it's listed now. It'll do better than that. And 2.3 kilobits because it's all shrunk down. It automatically adjusts for how fast you're going. And at this point, it's set up as a brick. Brick means there's different kinds of codecs that these use for squishing down the audio, and there's a brick codecs. There's all kinds of different codecs that these use, and you basically go through and pick out the one you want that sounds best. It'll give you a numeric too of your total receive rate, your total transmit rate, and that stuff, and all the stuff that so you can see if you're doing well. The nice thing about the graph is that when you see the dropouts or it starts to fall down, then you can tell that your receive is going down, or if your transmit's going down, means you've got a bad connection. So we're not actually connected, so none of this makes any sense at this point. But and you can also do your peer stats, which are pretty much the same thing, except this will tell you up here what your delay is. When you talk on these things and you actually want to be able to receive cues, that's fine. There's no big deal. But you've all seen it on TV now where they go to somebody standing out in the field and they just stand there and kind of stare at you for a few seconds before they ever answer. Well, that's because they're hearing it later than you are because of the delay in transmission to them. Well, that's going through a satellite, and of course we all expect that. When you're going through a network, a wireless network, or a wired network like this, there is a certain amount of delay, and that delay can get up there. I mean, into the seconds of delay, which is bad, and you can tell on this screen what your delay is. So if you've got a very bad delay time, it may be getting back to your station just fine. However, if you want to talk back to the station in a normal mode with the guy that's back there on the board, that ain't going to work because he's not going to answer you when you think he is, and it's very hard to talk back and forth to somebody when they do not respond. It's like talking to Mars and with a 3-minute delay or whatever it is. And this will also give you the numeric delay times, receive times, and your frame loss rate and all that other kind of stuff for how well you're doing. Basically, if you've got a bad delay, about the only thing you can do is say, hey Charlie, I'll call you back later. I'm going to see if I can get a better connection, because once this thing starts to drop and it gets down to, a big delay time, yeah, there's not much else to do. You've also got crosslock statistics for loss and delay. You can set these to kind of make up for the delay mode if it stays constant, and it don't work. And these are your audio levels for your input and output for your receive and your transmit, measured in dBFS or dBu. There's your dBu that most people are familiar with. These are okay, but I've found on most of these that they are not as accurate as you would think, and they're delayed. It's not real time. You kind of gotta judge that. It's not like watching your stereo VU meter, that's for sure. However, it's good enough. You can tell if you're beating the holy living bejesus out of this thing. You can back down on your inputs here. Alright, so that's basically what we've got in this thing. So let's see. Let's hook this up. I think I've already set it up. We'll take this guy and plug him in up here. Alright, so that's plugged in here. We'll go and look at this and see if the little light ever comes on. Oh, don't need to. Let's unplug this because it knew it was there. It's not even going to try. Alright, so the little lights come on now. and it's blinking away. Sort of a steady blink. It's getting recognized. When one of these, VLAN adapter down here, it turned blue. So that means, let's go see what it is. Okay, so it's currently connected to my outdoor, or my outside LAN, or wireless LAN, at 100 megabits up and down. There's my settings, and everything that's on there, it's enabled, yes. There's my locations, this is Navico West, and it's my passphrase, it's on DHCP. And you can scan and see what other networks are around you. And it's thinking about it. Sort of. Okay, so there we got all of my outdoors or outside LANs are all there. Wireless LANs, both 5G and 4G, or 5G and regular 2.4 gig. Cool. So this will pick up those guys too. I didn't know that. Mine won't do that. It doesn't have that ability. It won't do the 5G. Okay, so we are connected. Done. Now let's prove that. Go to my network, my web browser. There's my Google. Alright, there's my Google, and we're on wireless. So that does work. Let's see, manage connections. Let's try this guy again. We're connected. Alright, now you can see down here, here's your audio that they're sending back from the music. Let's see if I got anything I can plug this into. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, plug that in there. This is not ideal, but it should be able to do it. Okay, this is just them sending back information to me. This is a mono jack I got shoved in here. Okay, so this will be the return. So I can control the return. Okay. And if I plug a microphone into it, let's see if I can find a microphone to plug into it. Okay, I'm back. Alright, so we're going to hook a microphone into here and turn up the mic level. As you can see, there we go. Talking. And feeding back. Alright, so there I'm talking. Now what you can do, turn up your return so that you can hear the return but not disturb yourself. That's enough of that. Alright, so basically that's how that works, and you can see that I'm talking through the microphone, and that little thing there is moving. So you've got inputs and outputs of returns and inputs of what you're doing. So that's how that works. And then when you're done, you disconnect. So it appears that this thing is working right, doesn't it? Let's take the mic out. Well, I was messing around with this before I started this video, and basically what happens here, let's see if we can catch it. There's our status. If we look at our status here and watch this little light, if I move this thing just right, well, I gotta get it there. See, all I did was push it in. That light's out. Well, the complaint on this originally was that the USB didn't work. Well, it does work, and I'll prove it. We'll plug this little guy in here, and let's go back to my network manager. This is going to be WLAN 1 adapter. Let's see this come up. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Here's blinky, blinky, blinking. Okay, so this one is up. We'll configure this. I am associated and connected still, and it's working. If I push this in, it's still blinking, still blinking, still blinking, still blinking. Everything's fine. I'm not, no interruptions. So the problem with this one was, it's not so much that this USB jack doesn't work. It's the fact that this thing is losing connection in here. And I think part of the reason for that is this is quite a bit heavier, quite a bit longer, and quite a bit more gets in the way. And I believe that they bent it internally. So remember when I said in the beginning, I think that this little guy might be a better choice for, you know, for these kind of things than one of these big ones, and definitely not one of those really long ones. I don't know, and I can't really see a lot of difference. As a matter of fact, sitting here right now with this, I was getting about 3 bars, maybe going into 4. Sitting here with this little one that came with it, I'm getting a full 4 bars and it never moves. So I'm not sure this will do the 5G, but I don't know. I'm not thrilled with it. So anyway, so there we are. There's a look at a piece of radio equipment that we use out in the field. Almost every radio station that does remotes has one of these. They're just the cat's pajamas. Boy, am I old. For getting out and doing remotes, they're just, nothing beats them. They're very expensive, and they are in some ways kind of fragile, in that especially if you, this one does not have a card. This has a, you can slide a card into it, but mine has a slot here for a PCMCIA card with a modem or a broadband card or whatever you want to stick in there. Well, that sticks out about this far, and I have had mine come back where it wasn't sticking out anymore. It was shoved all the way inside, and of course nobody did anything. It just happened. It suddenly just forced itself into the internal workings of this thing somehow. Nobody ever admits that. But anyway, there you go. There's a Comrex Access with the add-on box over here. For this has, by the way, this has the local and the return for each of the people listening, which is kind of cool. And this is your input level, mic level control, and this is your stereo pan back and forth. You can assign input to left and talk to right, or you know, input to whatever, return to left and talk to right. You can assign it that way so they can adjust that, but it's most of the time just use these. Anyway, so there you go. That's how this works, and they're a really nice machine, but you better dig deep, because about $6 grand to go out and buy one. Thanks for watching.